Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. We've got the Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Got a whole slew of new winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up for parts of the plains and into the western Great Lakes, and new winter storm watches up. But where else? In California and Oregon and in the West. We're going to be talking about two storm systems that could be impacting the Northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states over the next 7 days. That's tonight at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Weather in 5 is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. They've got mulch, they've got topsoil and sand this coming spring. Make sure your home is landscaped beautifully, and they still have plenty of salt in case we get a winter storm. 631-756-1125 is the phone number. The website is omnitruevalue.com. Another day where we've had some rather gusty winds earlier this afternoon. Noted, excuse me, noticed some gusts into the 30 and 40 mile an hour range. They've come down a little bit. They've been more on the line of 20 to 30 miles an hour, and it's still going to remain rather breezy tonight into tomorrow morning across this region from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. Then we're going to see some improvement on the winds as they should start to ease as we go through the day on Thursday. Winter storm warnings up now for northeastern Iowa, southwestern Wisconsin, southeastern Minnesota, a couple of counties in northwestern Illinois. Winter weather advisories surrounding all those areas there, extending all the way up into northern Montana. New winter storm watches are up in southern Oregon, parts of southwestern Idaho, and also in the Sierra Nevadas and in the ranges up in northwestern California. Also seeing some winter storm warnings up also already in parts of the Sierra Nevadas. There are areas there that have been basically under a winter storm warning for the last 2 weeks. Meanwhile, it was a nice day. We've got this storm well offshore. You can still see it on the right as it turns counterclockwise, covers a large area of geography, interacting with a big high in Canada, so the gradient's been pretty tight, but it has again eased off of yesterday, and we'll continue to see it ease as we move through the day Thursday. Meanwhile, clouds are gathering in the northern plains, with the next storm system coming in the east, and there's new energy coming into the west, and that could make for another storm system in the east early next week. Checking out the radar view at the moment, quiet up and down the East Coast, save for a few snow showers aloft in north central New York. Also seeing some rain showers as you move into Alabama and Mississippi and back over into Texas. Some snow in Iowa, northeastern Iowa, into Wisconsin and back up into Minnesota. Again, that is the new storm that's forming out there in the plains. And then as we look out in the west, patches of snow, nothing too organized, but we're waiting for more energy that's going to come off the west coast overnight and into tomorrow. WPC liquid precip amounts over the next 7 days. So we're looking at basically 3/4 of an inch to an inch, inch and a quarter, the inch and a half area in southern New England and off the New Jersey coast, touching the coastline. Now, this is going to be spread over two storm systems. If the second storm system becomes something more important, we're liable to see these amounts go up. Meanwhile, across the Gulf states, looking at and the deep south, we're looking at an inch and a half to 2.5 inches from central Arkansas across northern Mississippi into Alabama and Georgia. And take a look out west, up and down the west coast, ample amounts of precip. We're talking several to many inches, almost as far south as San Diego over the next 7 days. And in the Sierra Nevadas, we're looking at precip amounts totaling 10 to 15 inches. And not all of that, by the way, is going to be snow. Some of that's going to be rain. And with all the snow they've had out there, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what the rain is going to do. Meanwhile, with system number one coming into the east, we have WPC's probability for at least 2 inches. Now, I like to use the 40 to 50% line as a good indicator of where the 2 inches will wind up. And that's that darker blue versus the first shade of lighter blue. So you see it cuts across northern New Jersey into the Hudson Valley along the Hudson River, kind of curls northwestward as you get up further into upstate New York. And then the high probabilities in northeastern Pennsylvania. We're talking about 70 to 80% probability into northwest New Jersey, and that extends all the way back across the Great Lakes into the northern plains. So this is a system that's going to have some impact as it comes out of the plains, and then back up into the northwest and down through the Sierra Nevadas. You're seeing high probabilities here as well. Again, this is for at least 2 inches. And the long range, we do have WPC putting in something for Monday into Tuesday. Right now, it's for areas just inland of the coast. This is the probability for at least 2 or 3 inches. And it's early in the game, but they've got 10 to 30% just inland of the coast, northwest New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, most of Connecticut, and then you get into the 30 to 50% northeastern Pennsylvania through the Catskills, and also in the Berkshires on up from Massachusetts into Vermont and into New Hampshire. So let's take a look at these two systems. I'm going to roll back here on the GFS, and we've got this storm offshore. We've got this blocking pattern. The gradient is going to loosen up somewhat tomorrow, so the wind should be a bit better. And then here comes that system from the plains, low pressure in southern Illinois, Indiana, early Friday morning, moves into southern Ohio, finds its way into Pennsylvania, and like we've seen over the last couple of weeks with several of these systems, the primary goes away and the secondary develops offshore Friday night into early Saturday morning. The upper air structure with this is not all that impressive, so I don't think this is going to be a big deal, but we certainly could see a few inches in inland areas and maybe even brushing places like Long Island down to about New York City and maybe New Jersey down to about Route 78 or so. That low moves out during Saturday morning and pulls away. We'll get a little colder, but nothing especially cold going into Sunday. And then here comes the next energy that is coming in with a low further south this time in Tennessee. And you see that area of snow Sunday night pushing into Pennsylvania and then eventually into southeastern New York. Now, the GFS has a rather weak solution with this. It has a low develops in North Carolina, goes out, and then it kind of curls back, tries to curl back westward, but it keeps it mostly offshore. This is a system that this model didn't really show until today. The European has been very steadfast with this. And let me just remind everybody that on Tropical Tidbits, the European map doesn't show precip type. It just shows liquid precip amounts. So there's your low in Mississippi, northern Alabama into Georgia. It reaches the North Carolina coast. But the European has a rather dynamic looking upper air and strengthens this to a major storm sitting east of New Jersey and south of Nantucket come late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. It would suggest that places, maybe just inland of the coast, could see a substantial snowfall out of this if it verifies. And we're not sure that the European has the right look here as opposed to the weaker GFS model. And being that it's Wednesday and we're talking about something next Monday into Tuesday, I will defer for a while. We'll punt, and we'll talk more about this tonight. Where else but on the Joe and Joe Weather Show at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Weather in 5, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. I just want to really quick go to the western U.S. and show you what's going on there with this next round of storms that will be moving in to the western part of the United States. And as we take a look here, you'll see at least tonight there's some snow winding down, but there's your new low offshore. But there's less cold air now in the western part of the United States, so we're not seeing winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings all the way down into California, but the Sierra Nevadas getting snow, but there's also some rain there too at the lower elevations, and then that pulls away, but there's this continuous flow of Pacific moisture coming in, and there's an even stronger system that arrives next Tuesday, but this is going to be all heavy rain that is in line for much of the state of California. So the West Coast this winter has really gotten hit very hard with everything but the kitchen sink. And we'll talk, of course, about all of this again tonight at 7:35 p.m. on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. We'll see you later.